Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Nightmares and Daydreams, an Indonesian horror television series from 2024. It's 7 episodes long, with each episode being 46 to 62 minutes each. Now the biggest draw for this show is that it was produced by Joko Anwar, who also directed and wrote a few episodes himself. Now, we've covered this director many times on this channel. Some notable titles in his resume are Satan's Slaves 1 and 2, Impetigore, and The Forbidden Door. Now, Nightmares and Daydreams operates like an anthology of separate short films, which do connect at certain points. Now, the general plot is that people encounter strange, horrific phenomena. Okay? Now, the easiest way to review this is to go episode by episode, while at the same time avoiding spoilers. This will give you an idea of what kinds of stories are being explored here. Now, I will say that the opening credits, though, are pretty neat. The imagery reminded me of old school stories of the macabre. We see creepy clocks, corridors, monsters, etc. So it kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. Now, episode 1, we have a modest taxi driver who comes across a mysterious nursing home for the ultra-rich, but soon discovers that it's hiding a sinister secret. Now, the protagonist in this one lives in like a low-income apartment complex, and there's an intense moment involving his toddler son. That's a good suspense scene, and that places our protagonist in a state of desperation that kind of drives his decision-making going forward. Now, this is mostly like a suspense-based short story, and it works well. But there are a few crazy highlights of bloody, gory violence to enjoy. Some pretty good atmosphere as well, with lots of red lighting. Even the clothing at times is pretty interesting in this, with glow-in-the-dark cloaks that I would use as a Halloween outfit. I would. As a kid, going trick-or-treating in one of those outfits would have been pretty cool. This is one of the episodes that Joko Anwar directed himself, and it's entertaining. I liked it. Now, episode 2, a couple living in poverty adopts an orphan with an uncanny ability to bring them wealth in 6 days. But on the 7th day, grave danger awaits. Now, our protagonists are living in abject poverty and their rent is past due. And these lovebirds do have a pretty terrible plan right from the start, so you know they're going to get screwed over at some point, and it's probably going to be their fault. Perhaps a little bit predictable in terms of story, but there is an interesting twist at some point. More of a slower-paced, dramatic story when compared to episode 1, but the runtime is shorter, and that does alleviate pressure on the runtime. I did enjoy this, but not as much as episode 1. Now, episode 3, while struggling to complete her latest novel, an author finds that her life is mirroring that of her main character. This is a story we've seen, before in horror movies, but there's, I guess, a potential for a good story, and that's what we get here. Our protagonist's last novel did not do that well in terms of critical reviews, so now she really needs her next one to be a hit. She's rejected for a mortgage finance, which adds to the financial pressure. That seems to be a common theme for this show, kind of like the pressures of finance driving people to do things that they should not be doing. But after suffering some nightmares, she thinks of backing out on her current writing, because it's having a negative effect on her mind, but her publisher loves the new content. So there's the financial incentive for you. Plot twists in this one are very entertaining, and it uses first-person camera work very well. It's a pretty absorbing mystery, very nicely done. I quite enjoyed episode 3. Now, episode 4, Facing Eviction, a community of fishermen seek answers from a withdrawn man who captures a photograph of a mysterious object in the sky. Now, at this point, Nightmares and Daydreams begins to show some of its flaws more prominently. Like the opening section of this segment is really slow, and it's rather dull. After the first sighting, so to speak, it gets a little bit more intriguing, but much of the story is just village people talking about what this thing could possibly be, and it's not really all that engaging. The conflicts are basic, mostly between the humans. The ending has a few interesting concepts, but the execution is lacking overall. I thought episode 4 was actually kind of bland, did not really like it very much. Episode 5, you get a man's detour to an abandoned movie theater ends up having an irreversible impact on his life. Now, similar to Episode 4, this just takes too long to get going. It's kind of a slow, mostly boring human drama, I will say. I did lose interest at certain points and kind of stopped caring about what was happening in this episode, so I had to kind of replay certain scenes to refocus. Almost no horror content in the short film at all, and pacing issues are significant for this particular segment, which is unacceptable for a series like this because short stories should not have pacing issues that are this significant. So I think episode 5 is the weakest episode of the whole show, and I actually just did not like it outright. Now, episode 6, Desperate to Earn a Living. An electronics technician learns to hypnotize other people, but soon faces the consequences of his actions. Now, the actor Fakhri Albar shows up in this one, and I've been a huge fan of him since seeing him in The Forbidden Door back in the day. Now, thankfully, this series begins to recover with this episode after the last few disappointing episodes. But the plotting still kind of falls into some of the same traps as episodes 4 and 5. There's still a bit too much reliance on just kind of everyday drama over more interesting, exciting, horrific concepts. But this actor is so good that he helps to keep the viewer engaged, and the ending is good and provides an intriguing setup for the final episode. So I did enjoy episode 6. And then we get the finale, episode 7. A professional diamond appraiser searching for her missing sister follows clues that lead her into a deadly situation. Good quality mystery is how I would describe this. There's some good gore in this one, and there were a few bits of gore in some of the middle episodes I didn't talk about. This has a pretty macabre reveal as well. Now, at the end of episode 6, you kind of feel like this show is coming together, so to speak, in terms of bridging things between the different episodes. And episode 7 does do that, kind of. You know what I mean? I wish they spent more time on the climax of building everything together, or, everything coming together, instead of focusing on, a new story for episode 7, like they kind of did here. The ending did feel a little bit rushed for me. But this is another one of the episodes that Joko Anwar directed himself, and it's one of the better ones. So I think, in summary, Nightmares and Daydreams is a good anthology-style television series that has more good episodes than bad ones. And most anthologies have hits and misses. It's very few times where you'll see an anthology where every single story is good. So that flaw is not really a big surprise here. But overall, I do recommend this. If you're interested in this director or just Asian horror in general, I think it's worth watching. But I do think I enjoy some of Anwar's theatrical horror films better than this. It's currently available streaming on Netflix, so if you're looking for something to watch during the horror season this year, this is pretty good. I liked it. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.